do it. It still says just going live ... There we go. Fucking hell, man. Why was it? Stupid thing. Couldn't be that hard. Anyway, we're rolling. So, I was going to talk about a few things. I'll put the 2025 stuff up, and then we'll have a look, I think, and see where we go. All right, so the first thing that I wanted to talk about was silly season. So we've got James Courtney leaving from BRT. Right, you got a car that can occasionally qualify in the top 15, but only since Tassie have they had some sort of top 15 pace. Perth was good. Everywhere else didn't have it. Darwin, they actually had a lot more pace. Seemed to, apart from Darwin, apart from the third race, I don't know what happened there, but we'll be able to go through it, I suppose. Yeah, so we've got James Courtney there, who's obviously retiring. So there's a few drivers who are available, who are off contract. We've got David Reynolds down here, struggling, but doing okay. Top 10 qualifying quite a few times. Won at SMP, top 15 at Albert Park. Did not have much race pace, just struggling. That first race at Taupo was good. The rest of it not so good. And then Tassie, a couple top 10s, which was good. Just struggling. And he said in the Drivers Only podcast that he's just been having a shocking year. He reckons it's the worst year he's ever had, but I don't know. His rookie season might have been worse. I don't think that 2009 Walkinshaw car was that good. But yeah. What else are we doing? We got Richie hang on. Actually, the more obvious guy available is Cameron Hill. I think that there might be a few guys who might want to sign him. Maybe Tim Blanchard might want to look at Cameron Hill if Cameron wants to stay at MSR. Obviously, it's his choice because he's doing so well. Plenty of shootout appearances, top 10s. He's doing a great job driving that car. Who else have we got who might be available? Bryce Forward's off contract. And obviously, he's doing a great job at BJR. So he's available. Then we've got, not Aaron Love. Richie Stanaway, potentially, who is able to put a lap together on occasion. Has qualified in the top 10 a couple of times, but is just struggling with the Premier car for some reason. Hasn't managed to put a weekend together where he's just right up there. So not great. Then you've obviously got some young guns in there. You got Rylan Gray available. You got Lockie Doughton, who's done a few wild cards, and he has gotten a bit better. I think he was actually quite decent in his wild card appearances at Perth. And Rylan Gray not so much, but hang on. He did get better every day, pretty much every session. He just did I don't know if he did a better job or if he's just everyone else screwed up, but that's 21st is pretty good. You got to be beating 4 people, or 4 people have to have a bad time. But I thought Lockie Doughton did a better job, but it looks like he started last every time, but Rylan Gray didn't. Yeah, so there's that. Anybody else who might be available for signing? I don't think so. I think Cameron Hill is the highest off contract driver. So there's that for us. So that's a bit of silly season talk for now. I might put a little picture up and we'll see if I can do that. What have we got? What we got? I don't know if I can do the entire screen. No, that's all fine. What else we got going? So, well, I was talking about finals. Finals, I don't know. Okay. What I learned about finals recently, and David Reynolds actually talked about it at the Drivers Only podcast, was that when you get into the finals, you don't just start with 0 points, which is probably what it should be. Everyone should start with 0 points and then rack up the numbers, and whoever racks up the most wins the championship. But instead, it's everyone starts with bonus points depending on what position they were in the championship after Bathurst, and so the top 10 there are in, including the enduro champion and including the sprint champion. Those guys are in, assuming that they weren't already in the top 10. And then, so those guys get in, and then everyone gets a bunch of bonus points, which is just sort of what's really the point of that. We were already going to have, it was already going to be like that anyway. It's just sort of pointless, but it invites guys that are outside the top 10. So let's go to the Supercars website, and I'll show you that for the time being. Yeah, Firefox, cool. Tripping everything out for a second. Go to driver standings. Feeney at the top. He's probably going to win the sprint championship because he's 183 points ahead of Will Brown. We've got Townsville in Queensland up next. Now, guy who was commenting in the last stream, he said that Anton and Cam Hill and Andre Heimgartner might not make it into the finals, but we don't know. So who's outside the top 10 that could possibly have a great endurance campaign and maybe not get in the finals? So we're looking at guys like, Jimmy Golding with David Russell. That's a chance. We'd say, who else? Who's Cooper got? What's his face? Who are the co-driver? Actually, this is another thing. Who are the co-driver announcements by Walkinshaw? But I can't remember who all the people are. So I will stop that for a second, and we will. I am going to make a new Excel spreadsheet or something. Just to remember. Because or hang on, maybe Speak Cafe did an article on it. We'll look at that. Hang on, let's Speak Cafe. Where are the Walkinshaw announcements? Hang on. Supercars. Blah 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 blah. There we go. I'll show what's going on for a second. So you can look at. All right. So yeah, WAU announced that Ojeda and Coulthard will be paired with Mostert and Wood respectively. Yeah. So here we've got Will Brown with Scott Pye, Ryan Wood with Jaden Ojeda, Aaron Cameron with Zach Best, which is a good announcement. We wanted to see that Zach Best back in there. Cam McLeod with Cameron Hill, which I thought was a bit interesting, but because Cameron Crick is going to be in his own wild card, then that's fine, because Twin Cam did such a good job last time. Twin Cam 2 is hopefully going to do a better job, but I'm just not convinced by Cam McLeod. I think he's a bit rough around the edges, got in incidents at Sandown. Not sure how Bathurst went. I think they had a crap one, didn't they? Tim Slade and Cam McLeod. I'd have to check. I'll have to check that stuff. Rylan Gray and Lockie Doughton doing the Enduro wildcard. Cam Waters and Frosty, JC and JP. Andre Homegrunner and Declan Fraser. Jared Hughes, that was his name, and Jack LeBrock. Nick Percat and Tim Slade, so a bit of a possibility for a good result, but I'm not sure because Twin Cam did such a much better job than Percat did last year. Percat just had kind of a really terrible endurance campaign last year. And Percat isn't always very good at the Enduros. He often, this is just going off the top of my head, he often has some sort of incident, has a DNF at Bathurst or something. Even though he's obviously a Bathurst winner, he's struggled to get those results. Jackson Evans and Jack Smith. That's going to be an interesting one to see how Jack Smith goes with Jackson, because obviously Jack Smith retired and got replaced with Jackson Evans. So hopefully Jack Smith does a good job. Then you got Brad Vaughan with Bryce Fullwood. And now what happened to... Now, last year Bryce had Jay Robotham, who was doing such a good job. And so I just didn't understand why he's missed out. I think I saw an article early this year where Robotham was talking about how things just aren't quite lining up for him. He wants to be doing the Enduros, but he's not had the opportunity. So instead, Bryce has got Brad Vaughan. And you got Tony D'Alberto with Will Davison. That would be interesting. Will Davo often does quite decently at the Enduros, although he's had, was it 2022 he went in the fence? Just having a bad time, I guess, for some reason. Anton with Harry Jones at Team 18. That'll be interesting because you see in the Porsche races, Harry Jones is just owning it. It'll be interesting to see how he goes in Supercars. Matt Payne with Garth Tander. I thought that Kai Allen was with Garth Tander, but I guess not. Dave Reynolds with Lee Holdsworth. That could be good. Lee's often quite good at Bathurst. Davies, I don't know. Davies has been hit and miss sometimes at Bathurst. But he's been fast. He's been definitely able to stick it in the shootout if he needed to. Chaz and Fabian, they'll definitely be a shot for being Enduro champions. So Kai Allen and Dale Wood. Woody often does quite well in the Enduros, especially at Bathurst. He's really good at Bathurst. Jimmy Golding and David Russell proved to be a very strong combination in the Enduros last year. Then we're hearing, I can't remember who it was who's going to be teaming up with Cameron Crick, but some guy that I've never heard of. You got Brody and Todd Hazelwood, so they should be a good chance at the Enduros. But Brody's already in the top 10 of the championship, so we don't have to worry about that being like an outlier that could make it into the finals. So it doesn't look like there's too many guys that are outside that would get in. So that would get him on the basis of an Enduro championship campaign, apart from Jimmy Golding. That's probably the only outside one that could get a result. Yeah, everyone else. I mean, Bryce is good, but I'm not convinced by Brad Vaughan yet. I think Brad often struggles. He's fast, but he struggles. What else we got? Yeah. What do we reckon? Who's in the? I'm gonna check top 10 of the championship again. Ryan Wood's not in there, but he could make a bit of a surprise. Ojada's a very solid driver, so he'll be good. So Ojeda for sure. Percat and Slady could be good as well. That's about it. There's only a couple of guys outside the top 10 of the championship that would actually likely do a good job in the Enduros and get themselves into the finals on that basis. So what else we got? Right, Cam Waters, Chaz Mustard. Now we're talking about Kai Allen and Ryan Wood being a chance at getting into the finals, but they have to be consistent and they have to get those results. So, and if I bring up the 2025 driver ups and downs again, we will have a look at that and we'll see just how much of a struggle they'll be having. So, bring up these things. Hang on, there we go. All right. So, Ryan Wood. So, qualifying is quite good for Ryan Wood at Darwin. Actually, at a lot of races, he's been. Now, I think the qualifying head-to-head is actually ahead of Chaz Mostert. So, Woody's actually been having a very good season in terms of qualifying. But he's had, what was that? Suspension failure at Perth, engine failure at Darwin. So, lost points for some bad reasons. Now, what was that one in the second race? That wasn't, was that a DNF? What was it in that second one? I think somebody punted him or something. But that looks like it's dead last. We'll have a look. We'll have a little watch. We'll watch some replays. And maybe I'll just do that. Watch some replays and see where we're at. So go. Supercars, Darwin. 325. I'm gonna bring everything back up for that. There's the 5R, nice, stripped out. Alright, now, so race 19 is the most recent race, but I think we see, is that what we're looking at? We're looking at Perth. No, we're looking at Perth, hang on. Perth, 2025. Okay, so, I just want the brief highlights. I don't really want the big ones. Well, there's Perth, but that's Tassie there. It's only extended highlights. Where's like your regular highlights? All right, there it is. Race 16. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we're on race 15 and 16 to see what happened to Woody in those ones. So have that going on. Get rid of that ad, even though it's Russell Coit. We love him, but that's the way it is. All right, almost done. But what happened to Woody? Is that the one that they crashed in? Maybe the second one was the suspension one, and the last one was the crash with Golding. Yeah, I think that's right. A DNF because he didn't finish. 24th was he got garaged, right? Yeah, this was Golding's best weekend as well. Nice little battle with Brownie. And this was when Cooper Murray's car died. Yeah. Nailed it. In the second race, though. So Payne didn't get the win in Perth. It's podium. Is this the one where Jimmy's crashed into him? Yeah, here we go. Yeah. Okay, so race 16 is the one where that happens. And JC gets the podium. Very good. Yeah, Matt Payne right on the back of him. All right, so what are we talking about? We've got so that was that was race 16 was that last one. So yeah, crash with Jimmy. So hang on, I'll call it 6 to crash. Just going to show my thing again. Show my Excel spreadsheet. Go on again. All right. So yeah, crash with Golding. But this is the suspension failure. So some of those losses were because of the way he was racing there. He obviously had the engine failure there. Actually, don't put that one there. That needs to go. So it's not a total mess. Then Tassie, I guess, just had no pace. Bad qualifying in that second session there. Interestingly, shouldn't have been down in 19. Something must have happened. What happened in Taupo there in that race? Third down to 11th. Was there one where his car broke down on him? That was qualifying, right? I'll bring that one up. Okay. I'll bring the Firefox back up for you so you can see stuff we're looking at. So we're looking for who's that in the middle? Oh, I think that's what's his face from DJR, the one at Darwin there. Yeah. I did like them having Richie on there. Richie and Aaron Cameron, that was good. But I'm so sick of drivers only having the repeat same drivers. When it first came out, I was saying, all right, this is nice, but we need everyone to be involved. You can't just have, oh, Thomas Randall's been in here 5 times. David Reynolds has been in 5 times. There are drivers that haven't been on at all. Where's Chaz Mostert? Where's Cam Waters has barely been on. Like he's been on once. Anton was on at the start of the year. Reynolds has been on several times. Courtney's been on several times as well. Aaron Cameron, that was his first time there. I think Aaron Love was in once, maybe. But this year, we had Jack LeBrock. Maybe we've had Jack LeBrock on drivers only once. What other teams are there? I'm so bad at remembering teams sometimes. Who's been on this year? Yeah, Feeney and Brown haven't been on this year, but they have been on in the past. I don't think Chaz Mostert's been on at all. Andre Heimgartner, I'm not sure if he's been on at all. Cameron Hill, I don't think he's been on. Ryan Wood has in the past. Kai Allen has. Nick Percat, I don't think he's been on at all. Jack LeBrock, I don't think he's been on at all. Bryce Forward hasn't been on at all. Are these the Gold Coast based drivers just haven't been on it or something? I don't know. Because I think quite a few of the drivers are. Where's Richie based? Actually, does it say on the website who's based where? Yep, cool. Just wanted to make sure I was showing the right thing. Oh, it says on my little thing here. Never mind. It's just me being stupid. It says right where he's based. Yeah, Melbourne. So is that all the Melbourne drivers get to be on? I mean, Will Davison, where's he based? Gold Coast, right? He's a Gold Coast based driver. Yeah. So is that like all the Gold Coast based drivers having it? Where's Percat? Does he still live on the Gold Coast? He's in Melbourne, but he hasn't been on at all. The impression I get is that Tommy Randall and David Reynolds live right next door to the place. That's why they're on all the time. It's just silly. Brody's been on once, and he was just complaining about the driver standards, saying it's not clear. Cameron Hill. I mean, we can actually check this thing. Have they got a playlist for it? They've got so many playlists, so many unnecessary playlists on the freaking YouTube channel. Formation Lab. I don't know. I've seen it a few times. I don't think it's really worth having. It needs to do something better than just talk about stuff. It needs to say something. It needs to have something different. So, what we got? We got, yeah. Well, there's Chaz on that one, data sharing there. Did I just miss that one? I guess I did. We got, yeah, all right. So Chaz has been on. I'm a liar. I'm a liar, apparently. Then, so what's that? Will Brown, Chaz Mostert, James Courtney, and that's all this year because it's season 2. It says. Episode 4. Then you got what? Brody, Feeney, and Jackson in that one, the Taupo one. Season 2, episode 2. We got Kai Allen, Matt Payne, and Ryan Wood. So, all right, hang on. Let's. I'm gonna make a little spreadsheet so I can actually look at what the hell's going on and document the madness. I'll go back to what I'm showing and fix that. And I guess we'll just show my screen. I think that will be okay. I don't think I have too much that's going to frighten anyone, but it's just going to make things a little bit easier so I don't, because I'm going to be flicking across stuff constantly. All right, so drivers only 2025. Now, let's go through all the teams. So you got AAA. We've got Tickford. We've got WAU, Groves. We've got BRT. We've got BJR, 4 cars. We've got Team 18. And I remember Anton was in the first one at the start of the year. We've got Premier, which I don't think Golding's been on this year. And we've got Erebus. Is that every car? There's always one I miss, and I can't. Hang on. DJR. Any other teams? That's got to be it, right? That's every team. What are we looking? It's got to be every team, right? We got Groves, got Thing. That's the start of the year. Randall, Anton, and Dave. That's the first one of the year. Yeah. I think I've got all the teams. Yeah, so WAU, did I write WAU? It's like the first one I did, right? Okay, yeah. So we got Brock's been on. I think Will's been on. Because I think, we've got Will there in the 4th one. It'd be nice if they had it broken down into like full episodes so you could just blast through the whole thing and just have it running in your house the whole time. Brody's been on. Will Davison has not been on this year, but there's still time. Cam has not. I think it's just Randall. But Chaz has been on and Woody's been on. Payne has been on several times. And Kai Allen has been on. I think Courtney was just on as well. And we've got Cameron who was on. I think it's just Jackson Evans who's been on. It's just sort of weird. I guess because the thing is with BJR there is they have their own podcast with Macca Jones. So you don't want people repeating the same stuff, but maybe you could repeat the same message if you got a message. Anton, you got Richie. I don't think Jimmy's been on this year. And then we've got Cooper who's been on. We've got Brody who's been on. All right, so we are yet to see Cam Waters, Andre Macca, and Bryce. And we haven't seen Jimmy, and we haven't seen Jack, and we haven't seen Will Davo. So those guys, they should be getting on the drivers only podcast, right? Am I wrong? No, they've had like everyone, like half the people on. I didn't realize they had James. I mean, I know they have a James Courtney a lot of times. I didn't realize that Chaz. I think Chaz was just talking about how much of a crap round he had. I don't remember which one it was though. Which of this? He's not making mistakes. That's probably talking about how well Feeney's doing. Data sharing. That was when Will talked about what happens to data sharing. That was actually really good. I like that one. And the one that's just happened is there's two who have just happened. They haven't made clips out of it yet. Okay. Yeah. Matt Payne has been on a few times. It's only 6 of them, but he's been on twice. And you got Davey's been on twice? Yeah. But all the ones from last year, they got through like a lot of the guys. They did. There were some good ones, but there was definitely some repeat ones. Yeah, Aaron Love at the end there. That's good. So yeah, and they did get like the Bathurst winners on, and they've had James Courtney on like a lot, which I guess because his management know, and anyone who's a good manager would be like, get your guy on this freaking thing. You kind of know if they either don't have a good manager or they're popping up in other stuff. Thomas Randall's manager is probably just saying, or even if he doesn't have a manager, is just get him in everything, which is because Randall's everywhere to the point of annoyance. So, there's that. So we're talking about endurance co-drivers. There are a few guys who missed out. Robotham was the big one for me. What else? Now last year, Aaron Love was with who? I can't remember really. I think he had Aaron Cameron with him, yeah, because I remember Bathurst, Aaron Cameron was just talking about stuff and just saying whatever he felt like, which is fine. Yeah, so that was good, but yeah, maybe I'll go through. I need to update some of my PowerPoint presentations, so I might actually do that, but I can't show you everything, unfortunately. I'll just leave stuff like that up. I do kind of want to go through a lot of just go through the races this year. I might as well just do that while I'm waiting, while no one's watching. I'll just watch all the highlights from this year and see if I can just go through. There's shootout stuff there. Then we got 2025 championship. That's like 158 videos, where so many of the videos are pretty much nothing. It's kind of annoying. 2025 short highlights. Okay, that's good. That's what. Do we want that, or do we want like the real thing? I might as well just spend like half my day doing that. But I need to go through my list. I made a list of things to talk about, and I'll knock them out before I start bumming around doing stuff. I think I already commented on WAU's endurance lineup. Got rid of Lee Holdsworth. He seemed to be the weak link last year at WAU, so it's fair. Good for them to grab Jaden Ojeda. We talked about silly season, so Team 18. Then maybe Charlie will replace David Reynolds, but we don't know. It's not looking good, but the question is, who would they sign? MSR like Cam Hills is theirs to lose. If somebody comes with a big money offer or something, Cam Hill might move. But I don't see Cam Hill going anywhere because MSR is probably the best team that is in the silly season. They've wins. They've got a pretty solid car. They had a solid car last year, solid car this year, where they can put the car on the shootout and they can get top 10 race results. So MSR is the best team to be in. Perkat's locked away till 2027, and Cam Hill is locked away. Oh, is off contract at the end of this year, but he'll probably renew. The question is whether David Reynolds gets the boot from Team 18, and pretty much comes down to what Charlie wants to do and what BRT want to do, because we know someone's not going to be in the field, and that's James Courtney. So we need to know, is James Courtney going to who's going to replace him? I got distracted by looking at myself on the screen there. I will show. I have a PowerPoint presentation of JC. We'll just blow that up on the screen, shall we? Well, how's JC's year been? It's been pretty rough, and I don't know if every driver has had a good time at the moment. So, like, yeah, I think JC's best round was what? You would say the one with the podium, but I'd say that probably, even then you don't know what the most competitive one, but it looks like Tassie was actually quite competitive for JC. He was pretty much in the mix all weekend. But that's a top 10. Dropped to 10th. Hang on, I am not showing everything, am I? That's annoying. Sorry. I need to show this thing because that's what I'm looking at. JC looks like his best weekend was Tassie, but not in terms of qualifying. Like, what's that? 8th, 12th, and 15th. So qualified in the top 15 in all three races. At Darwin, had decent pace had good pace in the first one, decent pace in the second one, and then something happened in the third race. I need to take a break, so I'm going to. I'm gonna hang on. I don't know what I can do here because if I need to go to the toilet and then I need to disappear over there, you're gonna see me come back anyway. I'll just show my James Courtney presentation and just have that thing going. So I'll press stop sharing and then switch it to the James Courtney. I'll change it to entire screen, press allow, and I'll set. I don't know if this is actually going to. Go away, fuck off. Press. When it says from beginning, it's not on a timer or anything, is it? Like I have to click it. So if I press from beginning, how do I do it? I don't really do anything. All right. I'll just set him where we need him. You know what? I'll just leave it with. I'll leave it with the actual Excel spreadsheet. That's actually useful. If anybody has a look, they'll be able to see stuff. We'll just plot that there. And I'm just going to put a little comment in here. At break BRB. I'll be back in a sec. Okay, I am back. No one is here. That's fine. All right. So we were going to look at the PowerPoint presentation. So look at James Courtney. I don't know if I really need to, but it's like, it's all right. So okay. Accidentally announced his intention to retire at the end of the 2025 season on Channel 9 prior to the Sydney round in 2024, but clarified that it isn't concrete. And at the start of this year, he said, "Oh no, I'm definitely retiring." Once he thought about it, it's just sort of funny that he hadn't made it clear. Oh, yeah, I don't know, whatever. Who else we're looking? I don't know what's a better livery. They're both about the same. Kind of hard to say. I like the swirly bits in there, but it's about the same. You know, it's cleaner, much cleaner look. I think the back of it is a lot more white there and more blue. You got white wing, white on top, more blue there. Interesting. I think the thing is about James Courtney is that you want to say he's overrated as a driver, because you look at how he went at Tickford. He was good, but he wasn't that good. He was pretty much. He did quite well there in 2022. But it was him, Jake Kostecki, Thomas Randall, and Cam Waters. And Cam Waters is a future champion or one of the most successful drivers not to win the championship. Cam Waters is, even though he's only been at the one team, he's done an exceptional job. So you can't say that he hasn't done a good enough job. Cam Waters is. He hasn't won Bathurst yet, and he hasn't won the championship. But Cam Waters is forever with a chance at winning Bathurst because he's just so good there. Now we know that people can't win Bathurst in a Ford. Apparently, it's just that hard to do. This reminds me, I actually want to bring up. Oh, I'm getting distracted. Here. That's the problem. When did I accidentally bring that up? 2007 one. All right. Anyway, but JC's just been a bit disappointing. I have all sorts of stats. I have one on shootout appearances? Might not be in this phone. In my old phone, I had notes on the number of shootout appearances, and James Courtney only had one in, I think it was 2023. Only one in 2023, and that was in Newcastle. And you think, sometimes you think the driver should get better. You think, what do they say? That they get better as they get older, but it's not really the case with James Courtney. He was really good in his early days. I think Dick Johnson's got a book. I can't remember what it was called, but it was a really good book that Dick Johnson wrote with James something or other. Dick Johnson book. Is this the one? The Autobiography of a True Blue Aussie Legend? I think this is the one. And James Phelps, yeah. So I will show that for a tad so I can talk about it. Firefox, hello. Here we go. So this is the book that I've read, the Dick Johnson book. I got it at the. I read it at the. I didn't read the whole book. I read the bits that I wanted to read, which was the. Yeah, I pretty much read a lot of the modern history. I read what happened in 2010, what happened before then, pretty much everything that's happened since 1998, just about. Getting rid of John Bow, making the mistakes that, in 2002 that led to the 2006 financial situation, the sponsorship deal with Jim Beam, Charlie Schwokolt's involvement in the team, and how in 2013 they were supposed to actually have Hungry Jack's sponsorship, but because the TV deal was taking too long to get announced, Hungry Jack's ended up pulling out. And so their financial situation in 2013 was possibly worse than it was in 2010. Because in the 2010 bit, he said it's hard to believe that in all the strife that was going on, they were actually in a battle for the championship. Um, and I think there was a lot of nasty stuff being said in the press, like James Courtney, I think, was saying. He said something, which I'm not actually, I don't know for sure is what was said, but it's, if you put it in a book, surely it's true, because it'd be easy to chase it up. James Courtney apparently said that he hadn't had an upgrade in several race weekends or something like that. And so that made it sound like, oh wow, he must be a really good driver then if he hasn't had an upgrade. But maybe the car doesn't need an upgrade in that area. But yeah, pretty much made the team look shit and him look really good. Yeah, I think he said there were two ways about it, but yeah. If I bring up, here's JC winning the 2010 championship, and he was pretty good. He was pretty good. He wasn't really good. That's why he didn't get signed to any other teams. But he also spent way too much time at HRT. He doesn't have the best record at the Enduros either. You gotta get, was that? He's solid. Solid there. Sandown, no. Bathurst didn't have a good run for a while. 2015 missed Bathurst. Car just wasn't that great in 2016. That was probably as good as it was going to be, because it was like, look at that, like half the races pretty much was that. Yeah, about half the races they had a top 10 car. And he got some podiums, but there were weekends where they were just outside the top 10. There was just no way. And then 2017 was the was that the engine failure? Maybe 2018 was the engine failure. But yeah, just rough for a while. They just did not have a great car for quite a while, and probably 2019 was almost the worst time. Got that lucky podium, top 10s at the Enduros with Tickford, which is good, apart from 12th there with Zach Best. Don't know how that happened, but then obviously BRT just don't have a very good car at the moment and didn't have a very good car last year. So it's sort of weird, right? So it was like, oh yeah, we're building up. And then they started 2025 and it was like, we're down the back again. Now we're building up again. It's like, what's going on in that team? It's like they're starting over every year. I think sometimes they want to make progress year on year because it's good for business to demonstrate that. But you also want to just demonstrate progress as well. And if BRT aren't demonstrating progress and they're like, all right, we're going to spend all this money and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, that looks good. Oh, hang on. I'm only showing Firefox, sorry. I need to change this to there. Yeah, you should be you should be making progress, not just making announcements. So BRT could maybe just focus on making steps forward, creating processes on this is how we do things, and just building themselves forward. But it seems like they get impatient or something and they go, oh, we have to do something drastic now. Things didn't work out with Aaron Love, which I think it just must be a really frustrating environment to be in at BRT, because there's probably a lot of I think personally, and we can look at this. I think personally, Aaron Love did a fine job. I did a video talking about it, so I will. Another application window, well, very nice, which is the PowerPoint presentation. 2024 drivers up and downs. So we have a look here. Then we go down to where Aaron Love is, which is last. Qualified in the top 15 in Perth, Tassie. Fuck. Oh. Fuck. Jeez. Oh. I don't think Aaron Love had that bad a time. You can even see the number of times that he actually screwed up, which was hit the wall at the cutting twice at Bathurst, which is a really crap way to start your supercar career. 5-second penalty for safety guard breach, which was one of the ones when the guys passed. It was Ryan Wood and Aaron Love both got it for passing people before the control line. Townsville, there might have been some damage, we think, possibly on that car. Then you got run off by Evans in that first race at Tassie. Then the next race crashed with Evans, having a battle for 20th. But no penalty, it seems, probably because they were both battling, so they just didn't get a penalty. It was a racing incident. Adelaide, he just did not have pace. He had race pace for 21st, and because he did a lap in qualifying on the Friday at Adelaide, he got himself into the shootout because Stanaway had his big crash. So yeah, he withdrew completely from the weekend. I think it was a practice crash, was it? Yeah. Oh yeah, because Jackson was in the shootout in that one. Yeah, a lot of interesting stuff going on. Look at how many times Hazelwood was involved. He had a rubbish week, well, not even a bad weekend, but he just involved in stuff at Grand Prix, but still got in the top 10. Taken out by Courtney. Still finished 15th. It was a pretty crazy race there. Deflated tyre from Wing Cup, DNF, and there was an adjustment of the pits, which I wrote that stuff down because maybe it helped. Maybe things like that helped. So yeah, that's what we're talking about here. I don't know what's going on here. All right. So there's that. Maybe there's no point me removing a message, because if I remove it, maybe it'll never pop up. So I'll just leave the toilet break thing there. You can see I'm not on the toilet. It was just there in case somebody dropped in, and no one dropped in, so it's fine. All right. So what else was on my list? Talked about finals. Talked about silly season a fair bit. I think the key player is the key movement is what happens with Blanchards. Is there a co-driver that might want to be used? So let's have a look. I'll switch it back to Firefox. So yeah, Fabian Coulthard does not have a full-time drive this season. Yeah, no shit. He hasn't had one since 2021. Why is this? Why is that even in there? You could just put image supplied. Obviously it's some sort of Walkinshaw image that they just sent it out to the press. What was I looking at? Oh, God. I was looking at something. I was thinking about something. Yeah, okay. Who are the co-drivers may want to join BRT? Would they? I think they need someone who's a proven quantity who would also want to make a comeback. And I think guys like Coulthard would not want to drive for BRT. And Holdsworth is retired, Hand's retired. Slade's retired. Declan Fraser may be interested in driving for BRT. They no longer have his former car, so that's they're not gonna have that kind of benefit. Would they sign Rylan Gray? I don't think Rylan Gray would benefit from driving for that team. Then the other question is, what does Charlie do with David Reynolds? Is Charlie going to go and pounce on Rylan Gray and have Rylan Gray and Anton De Pasquale, which is a much more exciting combination? But, last year, David Reynolds was a great driver in that team. So he's just struggling at the moment. He's had good performances, but he's just hasn't had a strong weekend yet where we go, yeah, he's back. So Hazelwood doesn't want to come back unless he's in a strong car. Zach Bates, I don't think I think we're probably looking at, you got Harry Jones in there, like Harry Jones driving with Anton. So you think, would they want to put Harry Jones in David Reynolds' seat? And I do not really see that coming. I think Charlie's just gone with this interesting outside idea that Harry Jones is a great Carrera Cup guy. Therefore, he must be a good driver. Therefore, if he does well in the Enduros, he may be good to sign. So they're probably waiting until after the Enduros, see how Harry does. And if Harry does well, then possibly replace David Reynolds with Harry Jones. Then that would mean that David Reynolds is on the market, in which case BRT will probably offer Reynolds an opportunity, a multi-year deal to lead their team. Would Reynolds want to drive for BRT is the other question. Because, I think Courtney sort of talked about how part of the reason why he continued driving is for such a long time is because he's got bills he needs to pay. So he kept driving. And now he's got this other job where he's selling houses. So that's why he's continuing to do things. That's why he's able to retire. If it was a perfect world, he would retire when he thinks he's not getting enough out of doing it anymore. Then there's the possibility that Richie Stanaway could be on the market, and Richie Stanaway is maybe not as proven a quantity as David Reynolds, but you can imagine a Stanaway being at. No, actually, where's that picture of? Actually, I probably have it. I'll find that picture of. Where's he driving for now? Premiere. Where is the blue Sandown car he had? And the blue Sandown Groves car. Is this it? What the hell is that? Oh, that's him going through the mud. Okay. Is there one of him not going through the mud? That might be a better look. They don't have any pictures of that. So we'll bring that up. So we can imagine Stanaway driving a blue Mustang again. Probably not a cool drive one, so there's another factor. They need a sponsor on that car, on the Courtney car. Do Snowy River continue? Snowy River will probably be happy with a Reynolds more than a Stanaway. Stanaway is not a very sponsor friendly guy, which is not helpful, and especially when you're not a successful main driver. They kind of want someone. I mean, but you got to remember like how good Stanaway was, in 2024. So, I think I'll show that for a hot second. So we're going to try that. I think this sort of proved the back end to 2024 sort of proved how Stanaway can be good, and he got good towards the end of the year. Qualified in the top 10 at Sandown, qualified fourth at Bathurst. Great shootout result. Goes to the Gold Coast and puts it on the front row in the Saturday race. Sunday race does not get into the shootout, but he does race forward up to 7th. Something happened at the Gold Coast. I can't remember exactly what it was, but also at Bathurst, he said there was like a fuel issue. So yeah, underfueled by pit crew for last stint. So he's forced to conserve fuel and dropped a heap of spots. Was on the last lap for last stint and forced to conserve, dropping spots. You know, Stanaway's not that bad. Stanaway's not. I mean, he's been pretty solid, right? But you got to remember how good Matt Payne was that year. Hang on, where is he? 6th, which is kind of surprising that was how well he was doing. But yeah, it was like when Stanaway was good, Matt Payne was somehow better. The Grove cars were just quite good. They were very good at the end of 2024. So that's why, you know, I think the Grove cars are very solid cars. Like anybody who drives for them, is getting a big benefit out of it. So Groves is a Triple Eight South. The problem is in some of these races, Richie struggled big time there, but it wasn't too bad. Put to the fence by Aaron Love here, not very helpful. Engine failure at Sandown. What was the one with Brody had at Sandown? Electrical failure, because the whole thing just sort of conked out and suddenly everything just stopped. Yeah, Brody spun brown. Now, didn't old mate last week said something about Hazelwood? It wouldn't have been 2024. Maybe it wasn't 24. All right. So yeah, we'll go back to 2025. So I'm just not going insane. And apparently I'm showing the right thing. You are sharing another application window. Well, it says I'm showing this one, so it's fine. All right. So I think that's I think Reynolds is probably the best option for BRT, but it depends on what Charlie does. I think Charlie will probably. I'd be surprised if Charlie announces his announces what's happening with Reynolds. If he announces that before the Enduros are over. So yeah, he's probably looking at what's going on with Harry Jones. If Harry Jones impresses, he could have a deal, a multi-year deal for. And Harry Jones has got sponsorship as well. If we just go quick Google images, Harry Jones Porsche. He's sponsored by Cat, so we could see. Just Firefox. So yeah, Harry Jones is sponsored by Porsche here, so we could see a Cat Team 18 Camaro in 2026. So yeah, that's a possibility for 2026. But it depends on how the Enduros go. That's probably a factor in it. Because let's say Harry's bringing money, but then Charlie's going, yeah, well, we've got tradie on this one, and we don't know how long tradie's staying. Or what's going on with that, if they're continuing or what. So, yeah, there's a few possibilities there. You've got, David Reynolds with tradie. You've got Harry Jones with Cat, assuming that Cat actually want to sponsor or support Harry. And you remember Michael Caruso got the vote because of all this. So we don't really want to see. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. I keep getting distracted by looking at my own face. We don't need the Dick Johnson thing up on anymore. It's interesting actually. In the other thing about the Dick Johnson book was James Phelps helped write the book. James Phelps actually wrote the article. Was it in 2010? Who that said something like he basically rang DJ and he said, I'm gonna put out this this headline saying your team's going bust. And Dick was like, don't you dare do that. And James went and did it, and then Dick wasn't happy with him, which made me think, how come they wrote this book together? Something else must have happened. Maybe they patched it up or something. But in 2013, like 3 years later, maybe James was like, hey, do you want to write a book together? This will make you some money. And maybe that's just what Dick had to do to get by, is write this honest book about things that have happened. And that sort of stuff is interesting, is to be like, wow, this feels like the truth. So yeah, there are a few really good books that I've read by Supercars drivers. Alan Moffat's book, I think it's called, was it called Climbing the Mountain? There's a couple of books, Alan Moffat books, that have come out. There's one about I think V8 Sleuth put one out, and I was like, but I just read this Alan Moffat book. I don't remember if I bought it or if I got it. I don't remember, but I was like, when I got it, I was like, this is so good, and I just read it all the time, nonstop. When I was sick, when I was healthy, when I would have like other things that I wanted to do, I would read that book. The Alan Moffat book was just, it told you so much about what he had to do when he talked about how he got Mazda into the Australian Touring Car Championship and how they won, and stuff like that. Like, Alan Moffat's just one of those competitive guys, and the Peter Brocks and Alan Grices of the world didn't like guys like Alan Moffat because he was going to do what it would take to win. So yeah, I need to eat some more food because I'm starving. I don't know how much longer I'm going to go with this, because I haven't had any viewers to spare me on. So we'll get something out of this. But yeah, Harry Jones, Team 18 maybe. What else are we looking at? Let's think of who actually might, like, who's bringing money. Because money talks, and Team 18 is one of those teams where money can make the difference. I wouldn't say it does make the difference, but I say it can make the difference. As I said it in the last stream, Charlie likes a good deal. He likes when he sees a good deal that's actually just financially stacks up. You're looking at possibilities of good results. That's what you're getting. So I'm going to show my Team 18 presentation. So here we go. So yeah, Team 18, Charlie Schwerkolt Racing. Now some interesting things here. Things that Charlie says when things happen, when he announces the drivers. So 2013, they debuted paired with FPR. cites Alex Davison's experience as useful for the team launch. And media, he said, Davison would need to continue to improve to get a second year. Got a podium at Phillip Island. He was doing a really good job. 12 top 10s. Got to remember, this is the fourth car at FPR. There were only a couple of years, I think there were 2 years, where all 4 cars were in the top 10 of the championship, or all 4 cars were competitive. And 2013 is one of them, and 2019 is one of them. So, yeah, John McIntyre as a driver. Johnny Mac was a solid driver. Been pretty much driving Fords for such a long time. FPR, Stone Brothers. Yeah, hang on. Improved to a podium at Phillip Island late in the year, but then declined over the rest of the round. Okay, so I think it was the first race, what they called the 60-60 sprints or something like that. So it was like it was one race, but halfway through it, Supercars needs to stop trying to be a football sport. Supercars is not a ball sport, right? So we've got finals, but you have to make it exciting. You can't just be like, it draws your attention to the top 10 without it really doing anything, right? It should be everyone has a ticket and the best man wins, which is what it should be. Instead, it's you're all in top 10 order and you're all given bonus points based on your position in the championship. So you still have an edge. So you don't like finishing behind the guy who like, let's say your nearest rival wins the race and you come second, you can still win the championship by doing that, which is not really what you want. What you want is you win and you're in type idea where you win and you beat all of your rivals and then they knock out everyone. It should just be in that order, but instead it's not. So, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Triple A don't always do well, so there is a chance that Brock Feeney doesn't win the championship this year. It's a little bit unlikely, but it's a high pressure sport. So, yeah. Anyway, so declined over the rest of the round. So there were like 2 other races, and Alex Davison did not have a great time in those ones. The following round at Sydney improved slightly, but not enough to get a second year. So, but I think by that time, Jack Perkins would have been signed. So yeah, early top 10 at Simmons Plains were unable to do it again for the rest of the year. So not great. But they did get in the top 10 shootout. And Jack Perkins has said that they had a chance at getting a good result at Bathurst. So I would like to look at some of those sorts of races. I don't know if I'm going to do that tonight. I am a little bit hungry, but I've got food to eat. So I'm not really sure what I want to do, what I actually want to review. There's all sorts of... I think I might just go back through the 2025 races and just watch them one after the other and look at all the things that happened and just document all the mistakes and things, because that would be helpful to understanding how the season's going for the drivers and how well they're doing. Yeah, Alex Davison's his behavior in the press conference at Phillip Island after he got that podium. I think Garth said something about how much of a menace Alex was, but Alex was sort of being a little bit of a smart ass. So his attitude wasn't great. At least it just seemed that way to me. So if you watch the press conference from 2013, you've got a bit of an idea. It's the first race at Phillip Island in 2013. Jack was chosen for his success in Super 2 against high-quality opposition. So 2013, except the 2013 Super 2 championship wasn't that great. It was Jack Perkins versus Dale Wood. And, they both got the call up for 2014. Jack in the Gerald Falcon in a deflated FPR for some reason. They just struggled in 2014 as a whole. The whole team did. And Dale Wood at BJR in the third car. And Dale Wood did 4 years in the sport. It just was sort of intense. He was just going from one team to the next, not being not able to keep his seat pretty much. So yeah, not easy for him. And Jack didn't get much more than this 1 year. He got this year, and then that's it. Chose Lee for his consistency and attitude, believing there is an essential combination to produce champion. Attitude, maybe. Consistency, yes, obviously. And yeah, top 10 mid-year and occasionally for the rest of the year. So yeah, I think that it would be good if I had actual data like I've got for 25 and 24. It'd be a lot more helpful if I could show the data better. So yeah, he kept him on for 2016, and they went solo. So independent garage, Triple Eight built car, except it wasn't the same specs as what was being raced by Triple Eight. It was like an older spec Triple Eight car. So I'm not I think that they were leasing the Walkinshaw Commodore. So starting over, but they actually, for what it's worth, they did a pretty decent job where they were able to get some top 10s and demonstrate that they had that top 10 pace. But yeah, interesting. But yeah, obviously Lee had the crash at Darwin, which was interesting because he started to, I think he qualified in the top 10 and got a top 10 in the first race, and then he had the crash. And that was the end of his weekend. But not only that, but he was out for 3 rounds there. Kirk Kostecki drove for 2 rounds, mainly because he brought his Super 2 car and they just made it eligible for Supercars, and Kirk got to drive. Best result 21st at Queensland, so not great. But then you got Carl Reindler, drove 1 round, 22nd at Eastern Creek, and you'd think Carl Reindler would be better, but Carl Reindler maybe because he didn't have that recent experience of racing competitively like Kirk Kostecki had, that, but you never know. Could have just been a whole bunch of guys crashed out and something, and he got that slightly better result. So, yeah, Charlie extended his contract with Lee because things were going pretty decently for them. They knew they could get results if things lined up for them. And their friendship as reasons for the extension. And, Lee's obviously come back as well, so it's not like, you don't burn bridges. So difficult start to the year with a few top 10s. It was strong from Sandown onwards, finishing a top 10 in every race apart from the ones that were retirements, and topping it off with a 4th at Newcastle, 2nd in the points for the round. I think they had a really strong car in 2017. You see like Perth and Winton and Darwin, that they had a top 10 car quite often. Like, I think maybe 2017 they didn't have a great car because they didn't put in the shootout. But yeah, they did have quite a strong race package. They had developed a pretty solid car, and in that last round of Newcastle, they had a fast car. To get 4th at Newcastle, that was pretty good. But what's the great line that Dale Earnhardt said? Who wasn't there? Like, did somebody else crash and so you won the race? That's not good enough. You need to beat them on merit. So, it is like that. Then you have a terrible time for the year in 2018, where I do have a round by round breakdown of Lee's career from the start of 2018 until his retirement in 2022, including the 2021 Bathurst year. So, yeah. Best result ninth at Newcastle, but he got screwed over at Newcastle. It's just ridiculous. Because I like Lee. He's a great guy. And he's not a bad driver at all. The mess up at where it was in freaking, was it last year? I got this. Where he span at Sandown. Was that the only time he screwed up? I think they also said he just wasn't fast either. Ninth up to fifth, so that was just, so they just didn't have a great car. Sandown, the team actually was saying like we just don't have a great car, and they were so sorry for themselves. It was just sort of funny like that. Anyway, back to more of my presentation. So yeah, it's a whole different deal for 2019. Charlie chooses Frosty because he's experienced and he's champion and Bathurst winner. And it was pretty good. They had a pretty good year. The livery was not great. Then there 2020, and it's a good time. And it was a good time. They were, what did they come? 6th in the team's championship. With 6 is not great, but at Darwin they were like, wow, Team 18's really coming on well. Because look at it, their best results were at Darwin. Teams sometimes rock up at tracks and traditionally do well. Not in 2021, which I think is down to incidents, because but also like at the start of 2021, Frosty had a strong car and was doing really well. Like 4th at Bathurst, 4th at Sandown. He was on for a podium or the win at Sandown. And something happened with Scotty. Scotty had just tremendously bad luck at times. As a result of Darwin, and result of Darwin. And here in 2025, I have not updated my PowerPoint presentations. So I might, I've got food in my hand. So how's Reynolds doing this year? Let's have a look. He's down in 19th, and Reynolds was like, yeah, I'm like P nowhere. Anton's what, 772 points, 545. But no more importantly, I do have my actual race information, which is very nice. That's what you want. You want to see what happened more than how did they do overall. I think more happened. And what was that crash? The second race at Darwin. What was the crash? Because I've said he crashed. Can I can't set this in a certain order. That's annoying. I don't like that they've got it backwards. Like, what? I'm going to watch from last to first? Put in chronological order. There's people getting paid money to represent the media team of Supercars, and this is what they've got. It's ridiculous. Like, I would probably do it for free, but I also have multiple YouTube channels to manage. So, yeah. So what happened to David Reynolds in that second race? Dry hump. I would like to be dry humped. Anyway. 5 bucks. And we'd like to get dry humped. My tea's gone cold. All right. Here we go. How did Reynolds go? Where is Reynolds? He is down there. Right there. You can see him. With the pink tradie Camaro. Cromley actually screwed up the freaking... He confused Bryce with... who punted him? Alright, so that... Okay, I gotta write this down. So, Payne punted Stanaway at Darwin. Yeah, so it's the second race. So hang on, he got... Was it turned? Did he get spun? Yeah, he's just turning around there. Yep. Spun after closing the door on Payne. Something else happened though. Alright. So spun after closing it on the rain. Retired with power steering. Cheers. Alright, cool. Back to... accidentally clicking on stuff. God damn it. Back to it. Who's... Jackson Evans. We could actually check that if it's been released yet. Yeah, so this is Payne hadn't pitted yet, right? There's Kostecki there. Is it Zoe Grove? Oh. Wait. Who are we on board with just then? Oof. Damn. All right. So, okay. So, Reynolds. Thank you. So, yeah. Spun. I don't know how that affected the result for him. He got spun. Someone's punted. Was that Will Davison who got punted? So, someone's hit JC, who's hit Davison, who's hit Reynolds. Great job, guys. All right. Spun by Davison in chain reaction. Okay. What else was there? JC and Will Davison. Yeah, Will Davison. So hang on. Yep. Hit in chain reaction into Reynolds. Into Reynolds by Courtney. Somebody hit Courtney though. I'm not sure who it was, but yeah. Where is ahead of Oh, this is because my order's wrong. That's right. My order is not accurate to actual championship order. All right. So hit in chain reaction. Hit in chain reaction into what, Davison? And we don't know who hit Courtney. Actually, we could see in just a second there. We don't know. Somebody else. Was that Randall who hit him? Alright. Makes sense. That's a typical Randall thing, really. Randall the handle. Alright. He did not have a good time. He was having a crap time. Jesus. What's Randall's strongest round? Tassie. But it's like, starts off well, gets worse, gets worse. He goes backwards in terms of setup like he did in SMP. Improved. So Taupo is probably his strongest round in that he got better and better and better. Tassie was best in terms of points that he scored. But he is not, like, that's probably the best round he had was probably Perth because he just scored in like top 10s in all three. But it's just like to get the best round he had in terms of points, it would have been Tassie, and also in terms of qualifying, it was Tassie. So yeah, hit Courtney into Davison, who hit Reynolds. Which happens. I do not like the grammatical errors either. You know, it is what it is. Anyway, back to it. All right, so that's the end of that Darwin race. Yeah, so I need to go through a lot of stuff. What else am I missing? Are there any I was going to talk about Ford and Chev tracks. So I'll stop that. I feel like I could do a better job if I broke it down by track or something, but I want to break it down by year as well. Because they talk about Darwin as a Chev track because the Fords are too slow on the straight. They're 2 kilometers an hour slower. But it's also based on setup, right? And I think that the argument is that if it's possible to have a Ford be equally as fast down the straights, then it's not parity. You know, but like they probably have done testing where they just had both cars set up just for doing a drag race, basically, and both got the same results, roughly, within like a tenth of a second of one another or something like that. So it's hard to argue that there's total disparity because it's too much of a tiny difference to actually say that one is completely worse than the other. Like, it's not like I've talked about how Ford drivers and Ford teams are going. I've talked about how Chevy teams are going, how they're doing. Once Triple Eight go to Ford next year, the best Chevy team is probably Matt Stone Racing, which is crazy because it's not the best team. So it's difficult to argue a case and say that this is rigged in certain teams' favour. Like, look at the championship. Look how many Fords he got in the top 10. We actually got, what, 5 Fords and 5 Chevys. But there's 2 Chevys that are doing really well. And then the next one down is 450 points down on the next one. It's not clear cut. But you could look at the round honors from, I'll show the PowerPoint presentation. We'll go through the results and we'll talk about who had the best weekend. Would you say Anton? He had a second and a seventh, qualified quite decently in the second and third races, so they just found something. He had decent race pace in that first race. What other Chev drivers are there? Will Brown, 3 top 10s, but he's in a 888 car. They just do that. Brock obviously smashed everyone, but Will Brown did not. Then you got Jimmy Golding, and they were just nowhere with Jimmy's car. Andre actually did quite a good job. He had a similar sort of weekend to Anton, arguably even better. Was that a 4th and a 6th? 2nd and a 7th? Andre probably scored, or maybe not quite as many points, but very close. So 14th, 2nd, and 7th versus 10th, 4th, and 6th. Then you go Jack LeBrock, and he also had pretty good pace. Then you got Jackson, he missed out. You got Cameron Hill. And while you might say, oh, these are actually pretty good results, well, here's Nick Percat having a worse and worse weekend as he went. Like, he had pace for a top 10 in the first race. I was going to say in Darwin. We are talking about Darwin. 15th up to 7th, 19th up to 11th. That's pretty good. 19th up to 16th. He just got worse and worse and worse. Bryce had a great weekend. Macca got in the shootout. Cooper, top 10. Decent race pace. Reynolds. This mess. What happened? It crashed, but I guess it put him out for the rest of the race from that. Interesting. Then you got Richie, who power steering issues. That team is struggling. It's frustrating because, like, they're my team, but it's frustrating to see a team have these highlights and then people talk about, oh wow, Premier are going places, and then they come back the next year and they don't get there. This year is worse than last year, and it's hard to understand why. Are there a few things changing? Yeah, you could say that the lack of Romy Mayer is probably making a massive impact. Like, okay, let's have a look. I'm gonna do a bit of Googling for a second. So let's go to Google and go Romy Mayer. Engineer. Is she back next? Fuck off, Windows security. No one likes you. Alright. Tunes mentor. Yeah, I remember at Adelaide I was actually seeing Romy Mayer actually talking to some girl. I don't know who the girl was. It's just like what it's like in pit lane. You just see these people that you see on TV talking to random people that you don't know. We go itching to make Supercars return. I want to bring this up for you so we can read it together. And go to Fox. What the fuck? There we go. Bone on bone. Yeah, well, that's, some people are into it. Oh, that's right. There's some podcasts I want to listen to. Dean Cantor talking about GRM. That'd be good. Problem is my phone conks out sometimes. Like it'll just stop doing doing the podcast, so I kind of have to do it while I'm doing this or while I'm listening to something. So, um, so what is she saying? Is sure it won't be too long before she's back on the deck in some way. Yeah, well, then how long does it take before someone's back to work? Depends on the person, right? That depends on what she wants to do, what the father's doing. No, it's obviously a big responsibility and a big deal, so it's up to her. So Simon Hodge is set to retain that role for the remainder of the season, but they think that Mayo could come back. Yeah. Yeah, so you gotta remember Simon Hodge was with Jimmy in 2023. I do have a PowerPoint somewhere. This is my problem. I've got that many PowerPoints that I can't remember what's going on at all. Actually, hang on. No, it's my driver's one. In my driver's one, I'm pretty sure it will tell me exactly. The driver stats. I think it might be, maybe it's driver stats. I should have a Jimmy Golding one somewhere. Let me bring up. Don't do that. All right. All right. I'll just show my whole screen because it's gonna be a mess. Where were we looking? Driver stats. See, I got all sorts of nonsense here. Sometimes I should maybe just do one PowerPoint presentation at a time. Where is Jimmy Golding? Here we go. No, that's all I've got. I was hoping to have more information about all the engineers. See, look at this. Now I know I got PowerPoints that need updating. All right, this is very clear. Yeah, Gillian Stannard, Tom Wentenhall, Andrew Donnelly, who is now with Anton at Team 18, and they got a podium. You know, BJ are training up the great guys. That's not Jack LeBrock. Burp. So, just not working here. Stop that. Okay, so what do I want to do? I wanted to show all the engineers that Jimmy's had. I'll just try and find it. I've got it somewhere. Drivers' top performances every year. Because I've got a couple of different Excel spreadsheets that have got the same sorts of things. Okay, that's not the same. I guess I just thought I had one for Jimmy Golding that's had more information, but it could be just it. All right, maybe. Whoops, hang on. Don't get rid of that. Hang on. Got team stats, but I think the team stats one's even older, even more out of date. January 2024. Oh, here we go. I could actually Team Sydney. It's a bit hit and miss in some places here. Managers, engineers. Lots of information that I have. All right. You know what? I'm probably a bit tired now, and I'll probably call it. I've done my best, but I think it's time for me to relax. If anyone dropped in, thanks for watching. Otherwise, we'll see you in another video. Bye bye.